So today I wanted to have a look at something a little bit different. When it comes to the Pocket TCG, we have got a lot of different decks, and with the I think first tournament, or at least one of the major tournaments that we've had over the weekend, we saw a very interesting thing across the board, and that was Pikachu. Pikachu. If you have a look at the tournaments here, we've kind of got what tournament decks and a lot of the finishes. There is going to be a fair few different decks that will obviously have won. We've seen a lot of Mewtwo's, Articuno, but realistically, Pikachu is a common theme across the board. So I thought we'd go through a few of these and have a look at what decks everybody is going with. So just as we see the very first deck going on, obviously it's going to be a lot of Pikachu Zapdos, Pikachu Raichu, and then maybe even Zebra Striker in there as well, obviously for the damage that he can do. If you are brand new to sort of battling, in general, like Zebra Striker is kind of like that. It's almost that outside chance. The fact that it can attack damage on the benched Pokemon. If someone's taking somebody out, bring him in on a one retreat, you're pretty golden to be able to get rid of something there. So it is a very interesting tactic across the board with him. Obviously, there's going to be a few different variations that we will see over the Pikachu decks, and they're not all exactly the same. Like we said, we've got a lot of Pikachus, predominantly seeing a lot of the EXs, to be honest, mainly with that extra damage with the 3 different electric types on your bench is absolutely phenomenal. It's an absolute game changer. You've obviously got then a Raichu with Thunderbolt, pretty decent, but it discards all energies, so it's kind of be a last resort more so than anything. Then you've obviously got the ability of Magneton with adding an extra energy per one, and in general the Zapdos is just a fantastic one. With them flip 4 coins, if you do manage to get the luck on your side as such, you're absolutely winning. So absolutely incredible there. We are seeing any other variations. We've got another Zapdos with Raging Thunder. This tag also does 30 damage to one of your benched Pokemon. Okay, I like it. Then obviously you got the Zebra Striker as well. A lot of potions, a lot of obviously Pokeballs, draw 2 cards. And we're seeing a bit of Giovanni and also Sabrina, which is a very interesting one to be able to use if you've got that in your arsenal as well. As you can see, a lot of Pikachu EXs, Magneton, Zapdos, the standards across the board more so than anything. I don't think you're going to see too much variations away from this. That is going to be predominantly the best sort of pairing you've got. Maybe even a little bit of a Electabuzz, that's fair enough. I could kind of see him in there a little bit more, but it seems to be pretty much standard across the board when it comes to this Pikachu EX. Let's just go randomly to page 14. Yeah, you can see where we're going with it. In terms of kind of everything else, you can see the top decks. Marowak obviously being quite a big one as well. You'll normally have kind of Marowak and Primeape together. Primeape with the fight back damage. Obviously, if he's slightly damaged off maybe a first attack with Mankey, you will find that he will be able to do an extra damage on top. Absolutely brilliant. You then also have the Boomerang for the Marowak EX. Flip 2 coins and can also do more damage. Then mixed in with a lot of trainer cards. And if you've never battled before, and myself included, it's only been really since Pocket that I've started to get into actually playing the game a lot more in terms of actually battling with it, is that you don't want too many Pokemon in your arsenal. You want to be able to have a very good balance between almost the few Pokemon you can get and as many trainers as you can get in. A lot of Sabrina, a lot of Giovanni. You're always going to have the draw 2. You're going to have the Pokeball. You've obviously got the X speed there, which is a retreat cost. It can be decent, but I'm not seeing any potions going on here, which again is down to somebody else's. But predominantly if you're running any sort of fighting pairing, it's going to be the Cubo Marowak with the Mankey Primeape. I don't see there being many other. Oh, to be fair, actually, I've run this card a little bit. Decent if you can get there. You've obviously got to take up a few spaces. You've got to have the fossil for Kabuto, and then obviously get it into Kabutops in at least 2 turns if you was to do it from the get-go. It does heal the life, but again, you could get caught out pretty easily there. But he has kind of opted for no Primeape and kept the Marowak in there as well, which is fair enough. I think that'd probably be the only other one. I don't know if I'd quite see Sandslash in my opinion. I think you'd be better off personally going for Primeape. I know technically he can do almost as good as damage, but I personally would go for the Primeape. We've got Dugtrio as well. Dig, flip a head coin if it ends during the opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage and effects attacks done to this Pokemon. Risky, very risky, but I mean, it could pay off. I could see the strategy going behind there. So if we go back again, we then have another pairing is obviously going to be Misty. Misty is one of them ones. AI-wise is just unbelievable. Not quite the deck I had in mind. I'd assume it'd be going for more of an Articuno, Lapras kind of deck, more so than anything, which I can imagine we will find. We got Articuno here. Obviously, ooh. Okay, I mean, that's going very risky. I mean, Sack also does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I mean, it's I can see it, like, realistically, if they knock them two out, you've lost anyway, because obviously EXs are a 2-pointer. So I get it, might as well kind of stock yourself up massively, but it is very, very risky in my opinion, that kind of deck. I can kind of see it. Is everybody running that one? I mean, it seems to be a phase. Obviously, you've got repping a full art Misty, fair enough. Then you've obviously got the EX beautiful artwork for the special illustration. And then I don't know what that one, I don't know if that's ultra rare, but lovely ones for the Articuno. Kind of just more of a flex, if anything. And I've clicked on it again. Flexed it twice. Ooh, okay, we've got a bit of Greninja. Once during your turn, you may do 20 damage of one of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, interesting. Then you've got, if your opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, this attack does more. That's fair enough. And then obviously you've got Articuno coming in there with Misty. Obviously Sabrina, draw 2. The standards across the board there. So if again we go back into this, Lapras seems to be one of them ones that you've kind of come up against with the computer. I don't think it's necessarily a big strategy in my opinion. Very similar to the Articuno with just as many different cards going on. We've got a bit of Hypno going on here as well. Not a big fan of this. Obviously you've got Articuno there. Doesn't seem to be a deck that personally I would say would win anything. We also then have a Venusaur deck. Okay, so we're looking at the EX, obviously. You've then got Butterfree. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage of each of your Pokemon. Decent enough. Then obviously you've got the Venusaur. Heals the damage as well, which is obviously going to do really well. That, again, is going to be a fantastic one to look at. Just got a random Caterpie. It's very weird in itself. Then you've obviously got the Executor. So this is the kind of what I'd expect for a lot of people. Because you've got a 3-tier evolution for Venusaur, you're taking up a lot of cards. Then having like an extra deck for Executor as well, you're finding that you're only allowed so many different trainers there. Maybe just kind of going with the strat of Venusaur could be enough, but it is fair enough that they're obviously going for the tropical swing with Executor as well. And then the final one for Venusaur, no, we just saw that one, I swear. Ooh, Lilligant. Okay, takes 1 energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your bench. I could see it just holding out, like getting it straight in there, and then obviously trying to put Venusaur up, ready for the 4 that it's going to take for obviously the final attack. I could see that. We then also have Blastoise, kind of left alone really a little bit. This Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy attached. This attack does 60 more damage, so if you can get it up to that, that's absolutely fantastic. That's obviously going to be a really big one if you can get the look of Misty. You've obviously then got a little bit of Lapras going on, and I'm assuming Snorlax is just kind of like that heavy hitter. Just get Squirtle in as quick as possible. Obviously Snorlax will hold out the rest, and then you kind of just open fire with a little bit of Blastoise. I mean, I can get that tactic. Bit of Mewtwo, not really feeling that deck, to be honest. I don't think that one would be anything suffice for you. And then we got one more. I get it. It's fair enough that obviously Farfetch is quite a nice opening just because of that 40 straight off the bat, especially with a lot of people already hitting straight into that 50 with maybe more of a kind of a stage 1 Pokemon. We then see a little bit of Alakazam. Obviously you've got this attack does 30 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. A little bit of Kadabra. Always love the artwork for that. Bit of Weezing as well. Once during your turn, spell your active Pokemon. Okay, yeah, you're obviously getting a bit of poison damage. Always going to do pretty well. But again, it's not necessarily my favorite tactic in the world. I think Alakazam is going to be very limited until we get kind of more cards, and this is going to be the beauty of it. Waiting for kind of the next set is going to be a fantastic one. We have got a bit of Mewtwo going on, but it's not quite the Mewtwo EX, which I think is in this deck. Obviously you're going for the immersive one. You've obviously got the EX. I just got 2 energy from this Pokemon, and it does 150 to be fair. Got 50 on the Psychic Sphere. Power Blast discards 2 as well, so you are kind of putting in a heavy shot on it. Once during your turn, you may take an energy from your energy zone and attach it to a Pokemon in your active spot. I don't think you could do ability. Can you do ability? No, you might be able to do abilities actually on the bench. That could be quite interesting. So I can see why potentially having 2, then being able to use that once every turn could be an interesting one to say the least. Or you can obviously switch out your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, I like that. That's a decent one. We then got Guadavir again. That's fair enough. We've clicked on the same one. Always. It seems to be that seems to be the kind of move. Guadavir. I can never say her name. Roadster's evolution into Mewtwo EX seems to be the heavy move there. Let's go a bit further down on the decks. Just see. Very similar, you've obviously got a bit of Jinx. This may does more than 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active. Very nice. Flip 2 coins, and this does 30 for each heads. Obviously, a little bit of Kangaskhan. So very similar with the Mewtwo EXs. Machamp. Oh, Blaine. Okay, a little bit of Blaine going on. Obviously, Ninetales. Blaine in themselves. During this attack, by your Ninetales or Rapidash or Magmar, do 30 extra damage. If you manage to get yourselves into a Fire versus Graphs battle, you are absolutely wiping the floor with that one. Personally, for me, I think unless it's a Charizard deck, I don't think it's necessarily going to go too crazy with Blaine. Anyway, I know that obviously Ninetales is kind of the one, but Fire for me, Charizard is always going to win that battle. Or, to be honest, Moltres is kind of the more go-to in this. I think Moltres' deck, just having Moltres, Articuno, Zapdos at the moment is a pretty decent one, to be honest. So obviously with the Inferno Dance, flip 3 coins, take the amount of energy from your energy zone and equal it to the number of heads attached to your bench. It's always going to be a fantastic move if you can get it straight out on the board, and then you potentially get lucky with the 3 heads straight into the final attack. It's going to be a decent battle there, to be honest, and that's... It's a lot of very much RNG, very based, but it can work very, very well. A little bit of Dragonite going on, mixed with a bit of Weezing as well. Obviously, Genetic Mewtwo. What else we got? Weezing, Dragonite. Yeah, it seems to be the pretty standard across the board there. Got Articuno. Look, I mean, yeah, I could see you've obviously got water and kind of electric on as well. So you've got a bit about both, to be honest. So it kind of works out a little bit. Oh, you can go to the next 6 from here. That's even better. Articuno, Weezing. Yeah, it's fair enough. I can kind of see it. So then if we go... Oh, that means we've got to go all the way back as well. I could kind of see that one. Then obviously we saw a little bit of Machamp. Has a little bit of an ability with the Mega Punch. It isn't necessarily anything too crazy, but you would link him up with either a Marowak or obviously a Primeape as well, and it could do a bit of damage. Again, being top, the free tier evolution. I'd kind of just stick with Primeape and Marowak, in my opinion anyway, but let me know what you think about that one. Little bit of Gengar I feel like could do with a better card in my opinion. Obviously he's got an ability as well. As long as this Pokemon is in your active spot, your opponent can't use any support cards from their hand. Is going to do pretty well for an ability, to be honest, especially if you do manage to get the weakness out. Not many people are going to be running a dark type anyway, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that does play out. But with the support cards, especially if they don't have the hand they need, it's going to come in pretty useful, to be honest. And I think realistically then we're kind of just looking more so at a Charizard deck, if anything. You're going to see a lot of Charizard and also Moltres. I feel like Moltres is going to be the more favoured fire type, very much like your Zapdos and Articuno as well. And I must admit, did I even see a Zapdos in here? Very disappointed. I mean, Articuno definitely seems to be the kind of #1 spot out of the 3 birds, but then obviously Moltres is a good follow-up, and it is interesting we don't see no Zapdos, so unfortunately not quite in there. And I think then you've probably got the Wigglytuff deck as well. Obviously your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Again, a lot of abilities that will do really, really well in this, and then you've kind of got the poison as well. If you can get them asleep and poisoned, I mean, I don't really need to say it. It's going to be a pretty decent tactic. And then the final one we'll have a look is going to be that Pidgeot. Top 8 in the ability. Obviously with her, once during your turn, you may switch out your opponent's active to the bench. Standard, you don't need then the Sabrina really, unless you've got a Weezing out. Poison, move the bench out. it's always a match made in heaven. So let me know what deck you're using. Are you using anything fancy, anything different to any of these? What's your best card? Let me know in the comment section below, and we'll update once we get into the next generation of cards. Peace.